Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Small Business Success Interviews. Today, we're talking about copywriting. Hi, I'm Small Business Stacey.
I'm Digital Dave.
Where marketing
meets technology.
But not just your boring copywriting. We're going to talk about copywriting secrets revealed. And I have a real expert with me today. Let me share a little bit about him. Kevin Donlin has been involved in marketing since even, I'm sort of dating myself, 1994. I'm even older than you. Back in those days when he sold one of the very first ebooks. You mean there were ebooks in the dinosaur days, Kevin?
We'll get to that.
Yeah. From 1995 to 1998, he was webmaster for FedEx.com, where he worked with the pioneers of online marketing. Since 1998, he's been a copywriter and marketing advisor for clients big and small, delivering sales gains of more than, ready for this, $1 million on multiple occasions by writing print ads, direct mail, and online marketing promotions. He's been interviewed on marketing topics by ABC TV in Detroit, Fox and NBC News in Minneapolis, CBS Radio in Los Angeles and New York, the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Fortune Magazine, just some small names there, Kevin, Entrepreneur, and too many others to list. He's also the author or co-author of 5 books, including his latest, Marketing Multipliers. And he's joining me today to share some of his latest copywriting tips and tactics to grow your business. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Hi, Stacey. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Oh, absolutely. And we're talking about a topic that small business owners really sort of struggle with. Now, when we talk about copywriting, well, I want to first talk about you. You know, we gave sort of this bio introduction, but did you grow up sort of saying, you know, when I get old, when I grow up, I want to be a copywriter? Tell us about your backstory a little bit.
Well, the backstory is I always knew I was going to work for myself, and I always knew I was going to be writing for a living. Those are like the only 2 constants I've had since about the 4th grade. I've known since about I guess that would be age 8 or so. I can't do math. 4th grade, 1974, 9 years old. And, you know, my hero was Thomas Edison growing up, along with Gordie Howe and a couple of Detroit Tigers. I was a weird kid, but Thomas Edison, you know, made a living working in a laboratory, inventing really cool things and selling them. People forget he was a master salesman. And so I just loved the idea of being a Thomas Edison. Quickly, I realized I was no good at chemistry or math, so I just kind of took that idea and morphed it a bit and decided I would work in a laboratory with words, creating cool little things. So that was kind of my template from a very young age. And so today I'm very fortunate. I've been doing it for 20 years now. I work by myself. I have my dog here who you may see. She often makes an unannounced appearance when I'm doing videos. She has impeccable timing, but it's just my dog and me most days. And I work in a laboratory, creating cool things with words. That's my living, and I really enjoy what I do.
Well, love it. Anybody who can do what they do best, and well, no, that's a different tagline. Never mind. But you always got to love what you do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We know about the professional you. I want to know a little bit about the personal you. So I have some fun questions. Are you ready?
Sure. I was totally unprepared for these. So
that's the idea.
You're going to get some real raw answers. Go right ahead.
All right. So cake or pie?
Pie.
All right. Any particular kind?
Apple.
Good choice.
Yeah.
All right. Crushed ice or cubed?
Cubed.
All right. And snake or shark?
Snake.
All right. So see, now we know the real you. Now, what does this have to do with copywriting? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Your guess is as good as mine. Right. Well, you know what? There's an idea for it. I mean, I was born in the year of the snake, so that was kind of a Freudian answer you got from me. I also used to catch snakes as a kid, never caught sharks. So that's the backstory. That's why shark or snake rather.
All right. Well, if we're going to start off today's topic talking about copywriting, let's make sure that the audience sort of knows exactly what that is. So what is copywriting?
So an old definition, it's still the best. I'm going to make it politically correct. It used to be called salesmanship in print. Let's remove the gender and change it a bit. I like to say selling multiplied, salesmanship multiplied, selling multiplied. Meaning, if you've got one client, one customer, if you've ever said or done anything to get one person to buy, you've got the basis for copywriting. It's simply a matter of taking your best words that sell, writing them down, and just multiplying your audience, whether it's online or offline. So that's basically how copywriting works. And copy, by the way, is an old word for text or words. People think a copywriter is a guy who works in Washington
Right.
with the C and the circle. I work for the government. Every third person, for some reason, thinks I work making C's with circles around them. Copywriting, it's completely different from that.
Okay. Now, copywriting then are words that sell. Is there any difference whether that's online or offline?
Um, the format can change, and if someone can see you, you need to say different things in a different way than if they can't see you. So that's a very good question. The message generally is the same, but the format it takes will change depending on the medium. And we can talk about a recent success story I just had 3
Yeah.
days ago. At some point, there was a client of mine. I took one message and we sent it out by FedEx letter. It was a 6-page letter. And then I took the same message and turned it into about a 45-minute script that he used from the stage. Same message, but it was close to $600,000 he made in one day with that message. It was a pretty cool story. And that's a perfect example of how the medium determines how you deliver that message.
Yeah, it's a great example, and congratulations. Wow, that's a testimonial
A lot
for
of fun.
sure.
It will
Yeah.
be.
Because when a lot of small business owners come to me and I'm looking at their website and they think of copywriting, they they do one of two things. It's either their about me page or about us page, where it's sort of this chest beating, we,
Mhm.
us, we've been in business forever and ever. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
smiling, right?
yeah.
Or they sit in front of a computer because they know they need to write a sales letter or a web page or whatever it is, and then
Mhm.
they're staring there blank.
Sure.
So what would you suggest, for both of those?
Good. Very good questions. Two separate questions. The first
Yeah.
one, go through your website now, and everywhere it says I, me, my, we, our, replace that with the word you. And it forces you to rewrite everything from the point of view of the reader or your listener. And it's a simple sounding technique, but it completely changes how you speak. So if you say we have been in business since 1990, change that. You will gain from our experience. You will gain from our 28 years of experience helping folks just like you. The more times you can use you in any given sentence, the better. So just the first exercise is to change all the copy on your website, anything from we, I, me, my, our to you. And that will transform your copy in an afternoon. You can stop watching now and you just got a huge amount of value. Come back later when you finish that, because it's a really simple, very valuable exercise to do. As far as the next question, the blank screen, very common, even among other copywriters. It's a great fear. And we all have it. The way to get around that is there's an idea. It's a trade secret among copywriters. It's called a swipe file. It's simply a file. In my case, it's 3 or 4 filing cabinets, but you can start with a file, a manila folder, a file. You just find letters that have been mailing more than once. Any letter you've gotten to mail more than once, especially from a really smart mailer like Agora or Bottom Line or any one of the stock newsletter mailers. Anything you've received more than once in the mail, that's usually called a control, meaning it's winning so much that they mail it again and again. So what you want to start doing is collecting all the sales letters that you get more than once, put them in a file. Go online and search for examples of blank, whatever you're trying to write. Swipe file example of blank. And you can see they're normally going to be PDFs you can find on Google. But what you want to do is get a sense for what have other people done, because no matter what message you have, no matter what sales problem you're trying to solve, someone has solved it or a similar one. It's never going to be the same answer for you. You can never and you should never copy another sales letter verbatim. That's called plagiarism. But you can find people who have faced a situation similar to yours. You can borrow their ideas. That's where the swiping part comes. When you borrow another person's ideas, that's called swiping. But again, you're not taking them verbatim. but you're borrowing the ideas. And that's how I come up with all my best ideas. I take 2 or 3 ideas from other people or from my own files. That's how I got this win for the client over the weekend. It was a combination of things. But when you do that, you can take the text, dump it into a Word document, copy and paste, whatever. Just start with something on your computer and then play around with it. That's how you get around the problem of the blank screen. Now, let me step back a bit further. The best way to create your own sales message, and you won't have to do it from scratch, is to have someone interview you. The way cell phones work nowadays, they're a miracle. You can talk into them and dictate, and you'll have 90% accuracy. Just 10, 20 years ago, you and I remember this. We had to buy something called Dragon Dictation. It was like $500, and you had to train it to understand your voice. It's all free now. So dictate yourself. Dictate into your phone, selling something. The next time you're on the phone and you sell something to a client, record the call, transcribe it, and there is 90% of a sales letter. Because again, copywriting is salesmanship multiplied. It's words that sell. So if you've ever sold anything before, good news, you've got the germ of a sales letter already, or a web page, or what have you. So don't overthink this. If you've sold anything before, you can sell it again on paper or online. Just start with recording yourself, or find the ideas of others that have worked, or the best of both worlds is to combine your sales message with someone else's brilliant headline or brilliant offer or brilliant insights. And that's kind of where magic can happen. So that's my 2 answers to your questions.
Great answers, actually. And I agree with you with the swipe file. I mean, it's amazing, like a plumber or an air conditioner heating guy could swipe something in a completely different industry, football or anything, and translate that into a huge win for their business. And because you're going to be noticed and you're going to be seen, and that's sort of what copywriting is all about.
It's really funny. I was just reading, this is going to sound egg-headed, I was reading Charles Darwin this morning, a quote from him, and it was about species that are the most closely related, the most similar species. They compete the most fiercely for the same resources. In other words, if you look and sound like everyone else, it's the toughest way to stand out. You're most likely to be exterminated and go extinct if you say and do what everyone else is doing. So if you're looking to your industry for ideas, you're competing against everybody else for customers and for mind share. And according to Darwin, origin of species, you're going to go extinct more often than not. Someone else is going to beat you out. You're going to lose that game. So what I did just yesterday, I was writing copy for the front label of a dog food bag, a very high-end dog food maker. Well, I took the ideas from muscle building supplements and brain supplements. I wasn't looking at other dog food bags. I was taking ideas from other industries and came up with a pretty good result. The client's happy. He's like, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "Oh, I'm a genius. You're paying for a genius." No, I was taking ideas from other industries. To him, it's like, wow, he's never thought of that. But this is how we work.
That's right. And it's something that I preach in my book, Small Business Marketing Made Easy, because what you're talking about is what I call ant marketing. It's so if you ever see like a row of ants, they all follow each other, but nobody really knows where they're going, right?
Exactly.
And so that's what happens in small business marketing. Well, Susie's hair salon sent out a postcard, so I'll send out a postcard, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying don't do ant marketing, right?
Exactly. Again, just think about, the origin of species. Think about natural selection. If you want to be one of 1,000 other penguins, trying to get the same fish, swimming the same way under the ice, trying to compete for that fish. Well, the other, one of those 1,000 is going to get that one fish. It's probably not going to be you. So you want to be, in a boat with a spear, and you want to harpoon the fish. Do it differently, and you'll probably succeed. So just think about, how species get weeded out. It's because the more similar you are, the worse your chances are for survival.
It's a great analogy. I love it. All right. Well, at the beginning of this, you said very clearly, copywriting is nothing more than salesmanship. And, you sort of given some examples of how people could go about that, like recording themselves. But I want to go a little bit deeper into how you sell through your words, because, a small business owner who doesn't have a lot of experience in copywriting, may perhaps use the wrong words, just like when they go to do their website, they're doing we. are there, how do you write something in a sales tone that, isn't saying, well, buy this now, like how do you
Mhm.
go about doing that?
Well, the easiest way is to just be yourself. I know that sounds trite, but don't sound like somebody else. I know lots of people, including other copywriters who have written for clients, and the language is just it's overwritten. A lot of stuff is overwritten. So the easiest way to make your language, what you write, sound natural is to read it out loud to yourself. I promise you, you'll be shocked if you read seriously. If you read what you write out loud, you'll say, I wrote that. That's not how I talk. Fix it. Anything you say on paper that doesn't sound like what you would say out loud, fix that, change that. And ideally, what you write will sound just like you speaking. And that's how you know you've got a winner. And just doing that is going to make your copy more readable and more persuasive because it'll be more human because it just, I find too, the more college education you have, the more overwritten your stuff tends to get. The very worst, I'm rolling my eyes, it hurts me to think of this. The very worst writing I've ever read came from the PhD, who was my daughter's school superintendent. It was the most overwritten stuff I've ever read in my life. And it was because they were writing to impress. So you're never writing to impress or to wow people. You're just writing to sell. And if you wouldn't say it on the phone or in person, don't say it online, don't say it in print. So that'll solve 90% of problems right there. It's just read it out loud and you'll sound like yourself.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, when I'm driving down the road, sometimes I listen to these commercials and it's like text speak, like I can't even understand what they're saying. And it's sort of
Sure.
like they're trying so hard to impress that
Mm-hmm.
they're actually accomplishing the opposite where it's in one ear out the other, and I can't even remember even the name of your company.
Sure.
So yeah, the whole point of copywriting, I guess, and it's a big benefit for small business owners is to share your story, right? Would you agree that copywriting in a way sure it's salesmanship, but is it storytelling as well?
Yeah, storytelling can be a part of a good sales message. It's not always going to be a story that you tell, but in many cases, you can involve more people by making your sales message in the form of a story. It's I hesitate to recommend it because it can be tricky for most people to pull off. Not everyone's a natural storyteller. When we let our guard down, maybe have a couple beers, sit around the campfire, most of us can tell stories. But if you're trying to do it on paper, it can take you, 9 or 10 drafts to get something well written in terms of a story. But absolutely, when there's a whole train of thought in psychology about how humans prefer stories over all kinds of other messages. It's hardwired into us. We've been hearing stories around campfires for about 100,000 years. And so if you just say, let me tell you a story, your eyes are going to light up and you're going to pay attention.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, that we all become 5 years old and start listening. So there is a lot of power in storytelling. Again, I hesitate to recommend it to everyone because it can be tricky to pull off. But when you say, here's a story, or let me tell you a story, people let their guard down. They don't think they're going to be sold something. So that's important. So they open themselves up and they're listening to your message. And then you can, sneak in a sales message and you can persuade people. You're not being devious or anything here. But a story can be a powerful way to sell something. In fact, as I think about it, the big win I just had a few days ago for the client, we told the story of Mr. A and Mr. B. And Mr. A didn't use my client and lost his business and lost his life savings. And Mr. B did use my client and he's now close to retiring 15, 20 years early. So yeah, it works. Storytelling is often a very, very good way to tell your sales message.
Oh, absolutely. And, you've alluded to different types of copy. We've been talking a lot about a sales letter, but how long should a typical sales letter be? You've been doing copywriting forever. Do you sort of have words of advice regarding
Yes, I love that question. So the answer is it should be as long as it needs to be and no longer.
that? Oh,
So
okay.
in print,
Mhm.
a rough rule of thumb, a heuristic, that's the condescending term for rule of thumb, a heuristic for copywriting on paper anyway, is I use about a page for every $100. I know it sounds ridiculously simple, but it's, if it's 10 pages, maybe I'm selling something for $1,000, $2,000. The bigger the price tag, the more arguments you want to get across and the more objections you want to overcome, generally speaking. Now, the sales letter I just did over the weekend that sold a package at $79,000 a piece, that was actually 6 pages. And we did that because we had a very good audience for this client of mine. So I broke that rule just now. I sold something for close to 80 grand in 6 pages. But generally speaking, the higher the price tag, the longer the copy, generally speaking. And I've written sales pages, sales letters, 16 pages probably was my max, maybe 20 at one point. But as long as it's interesting and relevant to the reader, they will read it. Anyone who says no one reads long copy is ignorant. They're an ignoramus. Don't give them a penny, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I get really emotional about that. It's a visceral reaction among any good copywriter. It's just garbage. People have been saying this for 100 years. No one will read long copy. And there are sales letters 16 and 20 pages long. There are magalogs, which is a sales letter. Those go 20, 30, 40 pages. The longest, there have been several video sales letters that have produced in excess of $100 million a piece, and they sold financial products, and they were 45, 50 minutes, 60 minutes long or longer, because every few seconds or minutes they were getting your attention back. So you have to work hard to keep attention for long copy, for a long video. But if the price tag merits it, just go as long as you need to make your complete selling argument. It's very important to make your complete sales argument, because you may never get another shot at this person. And the easy way so let me answer your question finally. So I've just taken a long answer. Here, let me give you the short answer. The way to answer the idea of, how long should my sales message be? How long should my copy be? If you were selling it door to door, how long would it take you to stand on the front porch and get invited inside? How much talking would you have to do? And anyone who says no one will read long copy, well, then you just tell them, well, look, if you were sending people door to door, would you tell your salespeople, now do the best job you can, but for God's sakes, stop talking after 30 seconds, no matter what, because no one will listen to you after 30 seconds. That's idiotic. And that's the same mentality that says no one will read long copy or watch a long sales message. It's idiotic. It's ill-informed. And so just talk as long as you need to make your complete sales argument, and just picture yourself on somebody's front doorstep. And, when you lose their attention, they slam the door. So it's a great exercise to keep yourself on track when you're writing.
Absolutely. These are such nuggets you are sharing, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So a lot of times in online marketing, there's a term, of A/B testing, where you can test out different headlines or different messages. Can you do that with your written copy?
Yes.
Like sales letters and such?
Mm-hmm. That's the way, it started with print ads and sales letters. Before there was Google, there was this thing called the U.S. Mail, or, the newspaper. Claude Hopkins, who was a pioneer, he used to use split testing. Split testing is basically A/B testing, whatever you want to call it. Half the audience gets version A, half the audience gets version B. Which one produced better results? That's the winner. That's called the control. And then you try to beat it with the next ad. And the winner of that one, you try to beat that. And the Japanese call this Kaizen, continual improvement. But if you never stop testing, your advertising never stops improving. And you can I've done it myself. I turned a $10 a day revenue stream into $2.1 million over about 4 years by split testing. My ad budget went from I was spending maybe $5 a day. At its peak, I was spending over $1,000 a day. And it started with $10 because I kept split testing. So I've proven this for myself. Claude Hopkins used to have, 2 different coupons. Coupon would end with code 1234, and the other one had 123B or 1235, and they just counted the coupons. Whichever ad brought in the more coupons, that was the winner. Well, then Claude would write another ad the next week or whatever. So that's how it works. Now, if you're mailing something, generally, again, this is a rule of thumb. I hate heuristic. I don't know where I started saying that. A general rule of thumb when you're mailing is to mail about 500 to 1,000 people for each version. Some people will say 2,000, some will go as low as 400, but let's say 500 to 1,000. And audience A gets letter A, audience B gets letter B, which one worked, and then you take the winner and you go out to the wider audience with the winner. You're always trying to beat that winner, of course. But never mail your entire mailing list, one offer. You should always split test it on a smaller portion of the audience and then roll it out. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, another great nugget. Wow.
That's what I do in direct mail is I'll take a portion of the audience and split test. It's usually, by the way, this will get into your next question. What do you test? Headlines are the first thing to test because headline is probably 50, 70, 80% of the whole impact of the piece is the headline in the sales letter or the print ad. Second thing to test would be the offer. If you call today, you'll get A, B, and C. If you call today, you'll get D, E, and F, 2 different offers. What are you giving people in exchange for their time or their money? That's the offer. So those are 2 things. Of course, price is a good thing to test. You can and should. So here's a great example, price. I'm riffing here, so stop me when I need to stop. But for most business owners, in fact, all business owners to some extent, the barrier to raising your price is entirely inside your head. It's a mental block. 2 examples here. I had a client 2 years ago. In my mind, I was going to ask for $25,000 for this project, and I was consulting with a friend of mine, and she said, well, you should go higher. I said, all right. And I actually thought that if I didn't get this client, it would be okay because I had a lot going on. So I asked for $78,000 and I got it. So I tripled the price. And they said, yeah. So I was like, man, so I'm a pro, right? And the barrier was in my head from 25 to 78,000, same deliverable. For my client just last week, the original price for their program started at 25. And then someone suggested we go up to 49. And we're like, okay. And then he went to Dan Kennedy, someone most of us know. And my client is a client of Dan's, and Dan knows me. And Dan said, no, close to 100,000 is what this is worth. And my client's eyes got big. And he was going to do 69, and he kept getting pressure. So he ended up changing it from 25 to 79,000. So similar to my old price a couple of years ago. So the same deliverable for my client went from 25 grand to 49. Finally, we asked for $79,000, and we got it many times. Between 8 to 10 to 12 people have ordered as of this broadcast. So the price barriers are not in your market; they're in your head. That's a really mindset. It's a really freeing thought. It's a very, it's a wonderful thought. It's also frustrating because no matter what you're asking for right now, you can probably ask for more. You just have to, make the value clear to your buyers. But it's a wonderful idea, and I myself am guilty of undercharging and undervaluing, and it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it does. A strategy that I share with my audience is what I call the power of 0. So whatever number you're thinking of, add a 0 to the end. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to charge 100, then add a 0 and charge 1,000, because it actually changes the way you think about it. Because 100 may not be like a stretch, but when you think about it in 1,000, if you're going to charge $1,000 for something, well, then you want to deliver that value, right? And you're gonna think bigger.
Exactly.
And it just changes the whole process. And even if you don't get the $1,000, you're going to certainly get more than 100. You'll probably get, settle with 750. But look how far ahead you are.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
The power of 0 is definitely powerful, and I think that ties in with what you've been talking about.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
With copy, you've oh my God, you've given so many juicy nuggets. But you did mention the headline and the offer, and I agree. Right. Those are 2 powerful things, because the headline is going to be really the first thing that people see and make a decision: read or not read. And the sort of the call to action is go, no go. Mm-hmm. So can you give any tips to a small business owner, if they're going to spend their time on copywriting, what tips or suggestions do you have for those 2 areas?
So let me expand those 2. Actually, the big 3 factors that determine whether your promotional piece is going to work, in order of importance, it's the list, number 1. Okay. Who is getting this offer? And we'll talk about that. Second is the offer. What do you want to give them in exchange for their time or money? Third, in importance, is the copy, the brilliant stuff that people pay me big bucks for, the wording and the other stuff. It all starts with the list. So in terms of list, your most valuable list is what we call your house list. That's a direct mail term. It means the people who've already given you money in the past, your current customers, your current clients. If you've been in business for any length of time, you've got a house list. You have a database of past clients. This is where you should always start. Whenever you have a new product or service, start with the people who have bought from you in the past. They're the most likely to buy from you in the future. Everybody misses this, including me. We overlook the people in our own database, in our own files, because we want the new and the exciting. We want to get new clients, more clients. No, start with your own list first and then branch out. Just this morning, I sent an email to 5 people, and each of them was either a past client or someone who's recently expressed interest in working with me. And I got 2 of them to say, yes, let's talk about this. So, I mean, that was like, 2 out of 5, 40% response. If I had sent the same email to 1,000 strangers, what's the response going to be on that? 1 or 2, maybe 3, and that would have been great. So big difference, because I started with the list first. And by the way, when you're coming out with new promotions and new services and such, if you start with your current customers, well, they're going to give you their feedback too, because they're used to working with you. So they're a terrific review board. What's the word? Survey, focus group. That's what they are.
Right.
And I'm working with a client who paid a lot of money for a company to talk to a focus group of complete strangers. And there's some validity to getting the opinion of strangers, but not as much as getting the validity of people who have already written you a check for something. So if you want a focus group, start with your current customer base. And so it's list is the first thing. If you get the list right, the other stuff is much easier. The second in importance is the offer. So what are you giving people in exchange for their time or their money? And here's where I will push my clients to really go until they think that I'm crazy. The best offer should feel like, this is a great quote from John Carlton, who's a master copywriter. He said, if you're making a good offer to people when they think they're ripping you off for what they're getting. And I'm ripping this guy off. Yeah, I'm going to buy this. So that's a sign of a good offer. People are thinking, this is crazy. He's going to stop doing this because he must be losing money. This is such a great offer. So yeah, I'm going to buy. And if you have the offer right and the list right, then the copy kind of takes care of itself. Yeah. That's so I like to stack the deck in my favor by starting with a good list, and then I'll help my clients create the offer. I'll always push them to do more. And I typically give 3, 4, 5 different things. You want to give free bonuses. It sounds hokey, but people will buy for the bonus. Many times the bonus will end up carrying the day and make more sales. They want to buy the thing to get the bonus. I can tell you from experience this works. And so, yeah, in order of importance, get the list right, get the offer right, and then the copy kind of takes care of itself.
Oh, great. So those 3 things, the list, repeat it again, the list.
Yeah, the list and the offer and then the copy. So I'll give you a quick analogy. There's a famous copywriter, Gary Halbert, died a few years ago. Great guy, mad genius. He was absolutely one of the best. And he said, look, if you're in the hospital waiting room and the doctor comes out and says, Mr. Halbert, congratulations, you're the proud father of triplets. Is there any way he's going to screw up that message and you're not going to enjoy getting that message? Because he's talking to the right list and he's making an incredible offer. Hey, I'm going to give you 3 healthy kids. Can he possibly screw up that delivery? No. So if you get the list right and you get the offer right, the copy will often take care of itself.
Nice. All right. Well, one thing I know is that small business owners are strapped for time. They come to me because, they want to get their marketing done. And obviously a key component of that is copywriting. They may not realize that, outsourcing copywriting is a very smart thing for them to do. So can you talk about that? I mean, they may not realize that there's experts like you out there who write copy for people.
Yeah, so bringing me on board, for most businesses, you can't afford me. I'll just be honest. But if you're making over $1 million, that's where I get a sweet spot with people. But I make money for people by helping them raise their prices. Typically, I pay for myself just with I can help you charge a higher price. Working with my last client, Dan Kennedy helped, of course, but we went from $25,000 to $79,000, for example. So I was way more than compensated just with the first sale. So that's typically if my clients understand that it's an investment, it's really the world's best investment. It doesn't have to be me who's doing your marketing for you. There's no better investment on earth than marketing, because where else can you put $5 into Google AdWords, for example, and get back, the right click for $5 can be worth $5,000. You just can't do that in the stock market. So what I do for clients is I come in where you already got something that's working. You've got a sales message already. I don't work with startups and I don't work with part-timers. If you've got something that's working, I'll refine that and then I'll multiply it for you. So typically people will have something good online and they have nothing offline, or vice versa. Or they've got maybe, a good website but no email program. Or they're good on the phone, but they don't have anything in direct mail. So what I help them do is, first of all, let's take a look at what's working for you. Let's refine it a bit. And then let's expand your reach. Use more media, direct mail, the phone. And within direct mail, there's every door direct mail, which is very affordable. There's, traditional direct mail to your customers and clients. By the way, people forget that you can mail new offers to your customers and clients. For my last client from just a couple of days ago, we wrote a script for him to use during a seminar. So public speaking, I can write a script for you. I can, of course, create web pages. And so really for the right client who understands that marketing is the world's best investment, I'm one of the best investments you can make, because I'm going to take what you're doing well now and help you completely expand on things and go in directions you never would have thought of. Just because I'm not a genius. I've just been doing this for 20 years and I have a lot of experience from other industries that you just don't.
Well, I've seen your work and it's brilliant. I mean, I can attest to Kevin's work. He has magnificent examples. And it's almost like printing money, because when you have words that sell, right?
It is, yeah.
You send out an offer and the money comes in. That's a nice thing to have, right?
It's very real alchemy in a sense, because, if you're creating value out of nothing and people are paying you, everybody wins. Your customers, your clients, their lives are expanding and your bank account's expanding. Everybody wins.
Great. Well, Kevin, I understand that you have an offer that you are willing to make to my audience. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's very simple. So my main business for copywriting is called Client Cloning Systems. I help you get more clients, like your best clients. I typically work with people who have clients, not customers. I'm not terribly picky about that. But if you've got clients, typically you're selling a high-end service or a high-trust service, or you're selling, you're not a commodity like your business, for example, the way that you have turned, smoothies into an experience for one of your businesses. That's the kind of person who's thinking big, and that's a good person for me to work with. But I have something called a client cloning kit. It's 5 reports, and I do make it available for download. But if you're in the United States and you have a business, I'll mail it to you. Here's what it looks like. It looks like a pipe bomb. It's not. I had one guy actually email.
Think about that.
Well, the postal inspectors let these go through most of the time, but inside is a printed version. I have 5 little reports and tools and templates that people can use and start making money with right away. And I'm happy to mail this out to you. And, this is me illustrating, how I work, because everyone and their dog has a digital download. I have something to mail out to you. So I'm a little bit different. And you take this idea and steal it, frankly. Whatever you're giving people to download, print and mail it.
And it's lumpy. I love that.
Yeah. You can't put anything on top of this. This goes on the top of every pile of mail that comes in, and it rolls off, and you have to involve yourself with it. So the client cloning kit is free if you're in the United States. Just go over to clientcloningsystems.com and click on the little link that says free client cloning kit, and I'll be happy to ship one out to you.
Oh God, thanks for sharing that with my group.
My pleasure.
Great. Well, is there any other way, and how can people get in touch with you to learn more about what you do and how you help them with their copywriting?
Yeah, go over to the www.clientcloningsystems.com. My contact information is there. You can request a free client cloning kit, and then there is a link there where you can email me. There's also my phone number. I'm very reachable. I'm a real person here in the United States, and happy to talk to any of your viewers. You've got a really good audience, and you have a really good message.
Great. Kevin, thanks for coming on today. Any last words of advice for small business owners and their copywriting?
Just don't wait to get started. If you've got a message that's selling in one medium, it can and should be selling in more media. So if you've got a good website, that's an opportunity to print and mail that message. If you've got a great storefront, you've got the message that can work in your website. or again, direct mail or on the phone. It's just a matter of finding one thing that's working and refine it and roll it out to a wider audience. And there's no limit to how far you can go.
Great. Thanks for being on with me today, Kevin. This was a jam-packed. You're going to need to listen to this a few times and take notes. I mean, he's writing 6-page sales letters. You're going to have 6 pages of notes. Absolutely.
I hope so.
And so make sure you take advantage of Kevin's offer and check out his website and know that he's available as a copywriting resource for you. Kevin, thanks for being on today. And for all of you out there, I'm Small Business Stacey, your small biz marketing specialist, here to help you get your marketing done and help you become a small biz marketing whiz. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Small Business Stacey, the small biz marketing specialist. Want to grow your business more in the next 30 days than you have in the past 3 months? Get your free marketing plan at smallbizmarketingspecialist.com. That's small, B-I-Z, marketingspecialist.com.